What is up, guys? Level Up Sports Betting here. About to give you guys an education. Profitable sports betting, how to cut down the house advantage. All you guys need to know about sports betting is all right here with Kevin Davis to the right of me. So, Kevin, you know a ton about all this stuff. You've been around the sports betting industry before with your father is there, your grandfather was a sports bettor. So you've had all the education from all of these people in your family, and now you're going to be providing the information for everyone else, which everyone's totally going to appreciate. But before we get on with that, make sure to check out that YouTube description box, find that Discord link. All of our best bets in Level Up are all there. You can join our Patreon starting in April. We'll be back to paid once baseball season begins, but all of our best bets, all of our analysis, analytics, all that stuff is right in that Discord in the description box below. So make sure to check out the Discord. We have now 300 people in there trying to get some more. Once we get more, the better the community will be. So definitely hop on over to that Discord and join the community with that. So we're going to start off here, and we're going to talk about the house advantage. And we want to know, Kevin, why the house always wins.
So the house always wins because even when they lose money, they win in the long run. They have enough to survive like any sort of players going on a hot streak. That's because they price the odds in a way where every possible outcome adds up to more than 100%. If it adds up to less than 100%, then it'd be unprofitable because something's going to happen no matter what. So essentially, they price it. They're not going to price like a two-sided outcome on even money odds where you bet $100, you make $100 or plus 100 on both sides, because then they wouldn't make any money. So what they do is usually they price it at minus 110, meaning the break-even odds are typically 52.4%. So if you add up, both sides, and they have equal action on both sides, they're guaranteed to make a profit. But usually they don't have money on both sides. Usually there's lopsided action. So they try and adjust the line. But if people are still pounding a side that isn't very smart, sometimes they leave it alone because they don't want to attract a sharp bettor to balance it off.
Right.
So certainly the typical house edge, I can certainly show you. If you go on the Action Network's sports betting hold calculator, personally I use Microsoft Excel. If you have a two-way market, like a spread with minus 110 on both sides, the hold percentage is 4.55%. Now, hold, vigorish, that's all the same thing as the house edge. So, for example, if you're randomly betting $100 on a spread at minus 110, you should expect to lose $4.55. That is because the implied probabilities of two sides with minus 110 equal 104.6%, but only one thing is going to happen, which is 100%, and that's where the edge comes in. Now, here's how you cut the edge. And we're going to use money line odds for example. And we have a real live example for tonight. With tonight's, I'm just going to pick a random game. Drake and University of Northern Iowa. So, and typically you bet on the spread, and you can certainly get a half point calculator that calculates the value of a half point. But we're just going to keep it simple, do the money line, especially for baseball is a sport like that. So right now Drake is favored by 4.5 points. So the best so if you were just going on FanDuel, for example, Drake is a minus 195 favorite. Northern Illinois, a 170 underdog. So that's actually their 165 underdog. So that's a 3.7% hold. It's actually better than it usually is for a money line. So if you randomly pick the money line side, in the long run, you should expect to lose $3.70 for every $100 you bet. Now, what happens if you only bet it when they offer the best odds? I guess this is a poor example because right now the best odds are 170, but still, we still cut down the house advantage to only 3.04%. Now, Kentucky Vanderbilt, right now, the best price right now if you pick a random site. So let's pick William Hill. Kentucky is right now a 189 favorite. Vanderbilt 160. That's a hold percentage of 3.7, so you have an expected loss of $3.72. What if you only go with the best odds? So right now, you can get on a bet online, you can get Kentucky at minus 177, and on UWager, you can get Vanderbilt for 165. So that really cut the house edge in half. So without doing any sort of analysis of the game, your expected loss is now only $1.61.
Yeah.
Now let's say here's another one. Okay, the odds keep shifting, so some of these good examples are getting away. All right, Brandeis Hilbert. I didn't even realize Brandeis was considered Division One, but apparently they are.
Interesting game.
So DraftKings, for example, Brandeis is a 4-point favorite. So DraftKings has Brandeis at minus 182, plus 150 for Hilbert. So that would be a hold percentage of 4.34%. But when you get the best lines, Bet365 is minus 165 for Brandeis. And for Hilbert, 160. That's the house edge of only 0.72%. That's actually better than the house if you play perfect basic strategy and blackjack, which is 1.4%. So basically, you take something that's typically a 4% edge, and you can chop it down, the 1% a lot of the time. And baseball is actually the best sport for decreasing the house edge. Usually, you can get it down to 1 or 2% on baseball money lines, because not as many people bet on baseball, so they offer more attractive odds. So basically, that is what you should do. The first thing you should do is not pick who's going to win the game and whatnot. The first thing is you should say, okay, what markets do I want to bet on have the lowest house edge? And you could do that even too for team totals. You can put in team totals. So essentially, you want to get as many sportsbook accounts as possible, not just for the bonuses, which is a separate conversation, but because if you combine the best odds for every single account you have, the house edge keeps decreasing.
Right. So talk about why line shopping is so important. Obviously, you just alluded to, why, but talk a little bit more in depth on line shopping and how to do it most effectively.
So I like the BetStamp app for tracking odds. You can enter in all your sportsbook accounts, and then I'll tell you what the odds are. There's also a lot of free web pages where you can just look at, look up best betting lines, and I'll tell you the best betting lines. For if you're looking for like a football spreads are a little bit more complicated because the value of each point changes much different based on what the deviation is. With basketball, for example, you can calculate the value of a half point or a full point to see if the extra juice sometimes is worth it to get an extra half point or full point based on the line shopping. And a lot of times it is, especially when you have those close games. And you can also do, spread some money line calculators and vice versa. Basically, figure out what the best value bet is. Not the bet you think is going to win, but the bet that in the long run will make you the most money, or at least the house would make the least amount of money on it you bet. Yep. And then I guess if we're talking about, the house edge, there's a simple reason why parlays have why parlays are even worse than a single bet. So if you bet a single bet, like $100 minus 110, and there's a 50% chance of winning, and I can show you the chart also, an Action Network calculator. I can certainly develop a calculator of my own for other people to look. So let's say you bet your $100 minus 110, 50% win probability. Expected value 4.55%, or you lose $4.55, which is still, as I showed you, worse than with line shopping, you get a better value. So let's say you win it. Now you have $190.91. Going to the next leg, also at minus 110. So your expected value is now 8.68%. So your expected loss is even bigger. Let's say that wins. Then it keeps increasing. So you're increasing your betting volume just by doing a parlay, and that increases the house edge.
Yep.
So it's not that you're stupid if you do a parlay. It's just that the only way to really make money on it is if you have an edge in every single bet in the parlay, which is hard because you can always get something wrong, as well as the fact that, and then the other exception to the rule that parlays being a sucker bet is a lot of these betting sites will offer a pre-made parlay. And they don't change the odds of the pre-made parlay. So let's say one of the games involves a player that's injured and the odds have shifted. So you can go in a parlay calculator and calculate theoretically the money line odds for every single team and say what the parlay should be pricing compared to what is actually priced. But for the most part, that is why a pure parlay play, even with a lot of the bonuses, is a worse negative EV play than just betting the spread. And of course, EV, I shouldn't say of course. People use a lot of terms and then you just tune out. EV means expected value. It's essentially how much you should expect to make or win on the game. And of course, every play blindly is a negative expected value play because they're not a charity, the sports books. They want to take your money. So you have a higher negative EV just by doing a parlay for that reason.
When was the last time you did a parlay?
I think it was a couple weeks ago on the Brooklyn Nets. It included the Brooklyn Nets and included the team that's playing the Brooklyn Nets, and I think they announced that Kevin Durant was out, like after they set the line, and they didn't adjust the parlay.
Okay, that's fair.
But of course, I went in. I shouldn't say of course. I calculated what the value should be. I said, okay, I have an edge.
Yeah, so that's what you do. You get value on all of your plays, and if you don't have value, you're not going to make the play. And you want to talk about a little bit more on just measuring the betting history against the house edge?
Yeah, so you would say, okay, I should look at my betting record and determine whether I'm a crappy bettor or not based on whether I win or lose money. Well, that's not a good metric because everyone's going to lose money for the most part. I don't lose money, but I mean, in the long run, I don't lose money. Occasionally I do. It's gambling. But essentially, you should be, what's the average line if you're just picking games blindly for how much money you should lose? So if you're betting $1,000 a week at minus 110, only on spreads, how much money should you lose? If you're betting on minus 200 money lines, how much should you lose? And you want to get a big sample size, and you want to compare all your bets. This is why having an Excel spreadsheet to track your bets is good. Mm-hmm. This is why using the BetStamp app is good, or anything. Or Action Network has a betting tracking app. I don't even know if you can filter through what the odds were. And you can filter through, like, okay, let's say you have a sample size of 100 games you bet on, minus 110. What percentage of those bets have you won, or at least how much money have you won or lost? I would say, and compare it to how much money you should have lost. Say, okay, I lost $40, but if I was an average person picking games, I would have lost $110. You're still losing better, but you're still a better than average bettor.
Right, and that's
you're not going to be. Most of the time, you're not going to make a living betting on sports. You're just going to have a good time. So the idea is, how do you have a good time at betting on sports and not lose your life savings?
Yeah. So if you want to make this a secondary income somehow, some way, then you have to be really disciplined, really smart, and listen to what Kevin has to say. This was part one of this little series of how to be a profitable bettor. We're going to be back tomorrow at 4:00. We're going to talk a little bit more. We don't want to bore you guys forever, so we're going to break it up just a little bit, 15-minute segments here and there. And what we'll do is at 4:00 tomorrow, we're going to talk about, what do the odds mean and the expected value. So that's going to be kind of the talking point tomorrow on how to be a profitable bettor. That'll be episode 2 of how to be a profitable bettor, and we'll go from there. So, Kevin, is there anything else you want to talk about for this episode and what you were talking about already on this show?
So if you're already betting on sports every single one of these episodes, if you actually follow what we say, you're going to lose less money in the long run.
Yes.
And perhaps you might even make money if you can combine enough of things and then have enough of your subjective analysis. So the expected value for the next video is going to be important because you're essentially measuring what the actual odds are against the break-even odds.
Yeah.
How much money you should expect to win if you have an edge.
Yep.
And of course, those odds, this sounds all complicated, but it isn't, and you'll see why. I just broke down how to calculate the house edge. The sports books, not the sports books. I'm drawing a blank, but for expected value, you will see how if you can properly calculate the event of something happening, if you can make money, and also these odds. If you don't bet on sports and you see a minus or plus, you get overwhelmed and say, "I give up." But this is a way to essentially read it and say, "I'm going to take these odds, convert to a probability, and then figure out how I'm going to make the money." Just because it's minus 110 doesn't mean you have to bet 110.
Yep. And that's all we have for you guys today as the first episode of the How to Be a Profitable Bettor. But again, we'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock again to give you guys the second part of this series on how to be a profitable bettor. This is for anyone. This is for a beginner who's just starting. This is for someone advanced who wants to try to make this a secondary income by putting more money on games if they have a bigger bankroll. So if you want to try to make this a secondary income, if you want to profit over time, again, join that Discord in the description box below. We have all of our level up cappers giving you guys their best bets, and then combined, we do have an ROI of 4.5% in February. We did struggle yesterday on February 16th, so definitely expect a bounce back performance from a lot of the level up cappers. So yeah, join that Discord. Watch out for tomorrow's show at 4 o'clock when we do the second episode. And we appreciate you guys watching and hope that we are helping you guys become more profitable bettors and just better bettors in general. And we hope that Kevin gives you the best education that you could ever ask for, and it is completely free. So again, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 4 o'clock.